So what is a blowout in a tattoo? A blowout is basically ink pigment that is in a wrong place where it's not intended to be. You typically see blowouts when they happen because suddenly there's ink where it's not supposed to be. For example, in line work, it can be a sharp line and then suddenly the line looks like it's blown up. It happens because the ink is spreading to places where it's not supposed to be. So blowouts can happen initially when you get the tattoo. There are various reasons why it can happen, and you will also see blowouts happening over time. Let's start with the first one, the blowouts that occurs and happens when you get the tattoo. You will often see blowouts when the artist put the ink too deep through the second skin layer into the third one, and that's basically happening because the pigment doesn't stick where it's supposed to. This can either be because of bad craftsmanship by the artist, but it can also likely happen in places that are more tricky, you know, places where the skin is very thin. That can be hands, feet, knees, joints, and stuff like that. Blowouts can also happen during the healing process if you heal your tattoo wrongly or if you treat it in a bad way. Imagine this, a straight line is your tattoo. It's an open wound. You end up scratching it, you get an infection, you do something bad towards it, and the wound grows, it gets bigger. The ink can also spread, and that's why you can see a blowout happening in the healing process. And I think if you're following this channel, then you might have heard the story. If you're not following, remember to subscribe and follow it. But I once messed up my tattoo on my arm because of my football accident. I had a brand new tattoo. I was going to play soccer football on artificial grass, and I ended up falling on my tattoo and ripping it completely open. So suddenly my wound, my brand new tattoo, got even bigger, and it really messed up the line work in my tattoo, and I ended up having blowouts with ink spreading, but also with ink actually disappearing because of that accident. So in general, I always recommend make sure that you don't scratch your tattoo, that you don't peel it, that you don't do crazy stuff towards it when it's healing, because it can have a very bad long-term effect. There are of course things you can do to avoid blowouts. First off, as always, find a good artist, do your research, make sure that the artist you're about to book in with has experience, have the skills to do the style you want your tattoo in. Make sure that you consider the placement, make sure that you're sitting still when you get it done, and make sure that you heal it up nicely and follow your artist instructions whenever you need to take care of your new tattoo. Tattoos are expensive, that's just how it is. You pay for someone's skills, someone's years of experience. I will always say don't save money on that because it's a permanent decision, and often I see that people that went with a bad artist, they are more likely to have blowouts and quicker fading tattoos. If you end up getting a blowout in your tattoo, you can do various things towards it. If it's in a thin lined tattoo and the line is suddenly thicker at some part of your tattoo, you can get a touch up on it, increase the thickness of the entire line. You can also cover it, you can go into laser treatment. I would say that most blowouts can be saved by a good artist. However, it's very important to remember that if a line is blowing out and getting bigger, you can't make it smaller again unless you go through removal process. I did mention before that blowouts also happen over time. I'm not sure if they're actually called blowouts, but the result that you see is a blowout over time. And you might have seen it, say your granddad has a cool sailor tattoo, that the lines looks like they're spreading out, basically looks like they're collapsing, and collapsing is actually what they do because over time when you age and when the skin cells age, they will collapse, basically fall apart. And that's why if you have the ink, you know, central in the line and the skin is breaking down, the skin cell is breaking down, the skin is renewing, then the skin starts to do like this, and suddenly you have a way thicker line in your tattoo. I think that it's pretty cool when it happens over time because it won't be sporadically like blowouts that you get from a bad artist or bad healing. So basically a traditional tattoo will not look as crisp when it ages, but it will look like something that is a 100% part of your skin. And when you age, your tattoos age. And I think that is pretty cool. You can do things about it. You can make sure to hydrate. You can use a moisturizing lotion to keep the skin at a good moist balance, but they will age over time and you will see a change in your tattoo. But I think it's a part of the game and I think it's pretty damn cool. To quickly sum it up, blowouts happen because of wrong choice of artist, bad skills, or pure unluck during the process. They are more likely to happen in tricky places with a lot of movement, with thin skin. They can also happen when you heal your tattoos. All I can say is do your research and take good care of your tattoos. Thank you for watching. Remember to subscribe, ring the bell, go nuts, leave comments, questions below. We're always open to suggestions on what to talk about in future videos. And then see you next time. Bye.